Imagine looking up at the night sky and knowing that for most of history, people believed space was a place that women didn't belong. Yet today, women have shattered that belief, Maggie. One launch at a time. Did you know that the very first woman in space, Valentina Tereshkova, orbited Earth 48 times in just under 3 days?
48!
Or that Katherine Johnson made space travel possible in the first place? Even now, while women make up only a fraction of all astronauts who have ever gone to space, they continue making history. From Mae Jemison becoming the first Black woman in space to Christina Koch helping complete the first all-female spacewalk in 2019. Today, we're celebrating the woman who dared to reach the stars, literally, and the pioneers who proved that ambition has no gender, even at zero gravity. Welcome to this episode of the Roast in the Ceilings podcast, where we break glass ceilings to let girls shine. You're listening to episode 106, Apollo to Artemis, Women in Space.
Oh my gosh, Isabella, this is so exciting. I think every little kid's biggest dream was to be an astronaut at some point. I just think astronauts were like this token of admiration for everyone. So it's so cool that we get to talk about astronauts and space travel today. But why now? Why are we talking about astronauts now? It's because on April 10th, 2026, the Artemis 2 mission successfully splashed down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego. Now, on Artemis 2 was Christina Koch, the first woman ever on board a lunar mission. I know you touched on Christina very briefly in the introduction, and for a good reason. She has been so influential to space travel, to NASA, to this exploration of space. But it didn't just start with Artemis 2. Okay, so if we're talking about Christina Koch, let's talk about how did we get to orbiting the moon? Okay, we're going way back. So,
Okay.
Christina was born in 1979. She was born in Michigan, but she grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. And in 2001, she got her Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering and Physics. Those are two of the hardest things I can think of.
Yes,
From North
go
Carolina
girl.
State University. And then in 2002, she got her Master's in Electrical Engineering. So from 2002 to 2013, she worked in different various fields of space sciences and also remote research roles. So when I say remote research roles, I mean remote research roles. She was in Antarctica. She was a part of.
Oh, I thought you meant some work from home type situation.
No. I meant she was with the penguins. She was in Antarctica because she was part of the United States Antarctic Program. She did multiple deployments to Antarctica. So she was the Antarctic Station Chief and Electrical Engineer. And she also worked at the South Pole Station and Greenland. So the point here is that she has extensive experience in these isolated, confined, extreme environments, which is one of the reasons NASA ended up selecting her in 2013 to be part of Astronaut Group 21.
Wow.
They saw her in Antarctica and they went, you know what? You can probably survive space. Spoiler, they were right. So in 2015, she completed her astronaut training, and then in 2019, she was sent out to the International Space Station. This is where she starts making a lot of history. On October 18, 2019, she, alongside Jessica Meyer, completed the first ever all-female spacewalk.
Oh my gosh. Wow, I can't believe it's only 2019 that this happened.
But doesn't that sound so cool? Imagine doing a spacewalk with all your girls, imagine us on a spacewalk.
Yeah, this is our next hangout. This is our next girls' night out. Spacewalk.
But so Christina was part of this all-female spacewalk, first ever, and then she did 6 total spacewalks. 6. While she was up there on the ISS, she did a bunch of experiments on human physiology in microgravity, material science, technology for these super deep space missions. She did a lot. And now here's where her record breaking comes in. She was up there for 328 days, which is the longest single space flight ever for a woman. Skip it up. Here's some applause.
Okay, let's
So
go.
that was kind of her background, that's her history, and that's why she has so much experience in space, which is why she was
Wow.
chosen to be a part of the Artemis 2 crew. So kind of part 2 of her little life story, I'm calling it Christina Koch, now on the moon. She's not really on the moon yet, but she became the first woman on a lunar mission, the first woman to orbit the moon. Because there were no female astronauts during the Apollo era. All of those Apollo missions you were seeing, no women involved. But now that we're at the Artemis era, women get to lead the way, which is so incredible. And I think she really highlights that concept in a quote of hers where she said, "It is our strong hope that this mission is the start of an era where every person on Earth, can look at the moon and also think of it as a destination." Bars.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. So Christina has been in the news a lot lately because she's up there, she's killing it, she is so inspirational. I've been seeing everyone on social media talking about how inspirational she is, how cool it is to see a woman up there in space. But she's not, though she is the first woman to orbit the moon, she is not the first woman to be involved in space travel. So the rest of this episode, we're going to go on a little history lesson. We're going to go back in time and talk about some of the other incredible women who made Artemis 2 possible. So we're going to start with Katherine Johnson. Katherine Johnson was a mathematician whose calculations made some of the most important space missions in history possible. She's the reason we have the technology to do Artemis 2. So she was born in 1918 in West Virginia, and she was this child prodigy in math. Prodigy, that's a strong word. She got a Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics at West Virginia State College, and then in 1939, she was selected to be a part of the Integrate Graduate School at West Virginia University. So she was one of the first Black women to be allowed into this program. And from the 1940s to the 1950s, she worked as a math teacher before joining NACA in 1953. If you don't know what NACA is,
What's NACA?
I didn't know what NACA was. NACA is basically the predecessor to NASA. So just it's a one-letter difference. Well, while she was at NACA, she was assigned to the West Area Computing Unit. Now, I had to look up what this was, but the West Area Computing Unit was this whole segregated section for Black female mathematicians.
Oh my gosh.
And they were called supercomputers because they were geniuses here. And in this unit, in this whole segregated unit, was some of the most brilliant minds at NASA. At NACA and NASA. It becomes NASA. But here is where a lot of these missions became possible. So she transitions to NASA, and then NACA becomes NASA, and then she moves into the Flight Research Division. So here she begins working directly on these space flight calculations. And she contributed here to some of the most major space programs in history. She was a part of Project Mercury, which was the first American human spaceflight. This is during the whole space race thing that we learned about in elementary school. So this is a very big deal for America. So in 1961, she calculated the trajectory for Alan Shepard, who became the first American in space. In 1962, she calculated for John Glenn's orbital mission. But here's a really cool fact that really warmed my heart. So before his historic 1962 flight, John Glenn, who was the first American to orbit the Earth, famously requested that Katherine Johnson personally verify the electronic computer's orbital trajectory calculation. So at this point, they had computers to help assist in these calculations, but he told the engineers, if she says they're good, then I'm ready to go, because he trusted her accuracy over the machine.
Wow. I love that even with such terrible history and barriers, like the West Area Computing Unit, just terrible. But it's incredible how she's still able to rise above and have her expertise be recognized and kind of pave that path for future young Black girls who are looking to break barriers. And I remember growing up, I wanted to be an astronaut or a rocket scientist of some sort. Not anymore.
No, we're podcasters now.
Yeah. But I find this super interesting because, I feel we always talk about like the astronauts and those are the people that get all the attention, right? So I think it's really cool that we get to hear this story today from you about, these important team members inside the scene.
So like I can't not emphasize enough. She made this possible. She made everything you're seeing on the news today possible. So she's out here and she's sending Americans out there to orbit the Earth. And she goes, I'm not done at the Earth. I need the moon. So she was a part of the Apollo programs, which were the first moon missions by America. She was a part of the Apollo 1 moon landing, where she calculated the trajectory to the moon and the return trajectory to Earth. Doesn't stop there. During Apollo 13, which was an emergency where in 1970 the oxygen tank failed mid-mission, and Katherine Johnson helped calculate the safe return path. All of the astronauts on Apollo 13 survived after an oxygen tank failure in space because she was able to help calculate a safe return path. Is that not insane? I just need to take a moment.
Oh my gosh.
But then in 2015, she got her recognition. She was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Obama. And then in 2016, she was featured in the show Hidden Figures. So I'm glad that she is getting her recognition because her career, insane.
I loved Hidden Figures. It's really good. Wow. Yeah. What a genius. Like, that's just so admirable. And I'm sure so many mathematicians must look up to her and want to be able to create that kind of change with their math as well.
Absolutely. Imagine your math sends someone to the moon.
My math would never send someone to the moon. I can still be inspired by hers. And you know, that brings us to another woman I'm very inspired by. Her name is Valentina Tereshkova, very first woman on the moon. And she was born in 1937 in Russia, and she actually worked in a textile factory before becoming involved in aviation. So definitely seeing some differences in her career path. And then she became an amateur parachutist, which I was like, what does that mean? But you know, looking it up, it actually does make sense. She's completed over 100 jumps, and that qualified her for astronaut training. So yeah, right the look on your face.
Parachute jumping helps you qualify for astronaut training.
Right? I was surprised too, but I don't know. I didn't look too much into it, but I guess it's something.
Maybe it's more the fact that she did 100, where they're like, okay, maybe you're onto something.
Yeah, so that got her selected for the Soviet space program. It's part of one of the first female cosmonaut groups, and she, aboard Vostok 6, became the first woman in space during the space race. Really incredible.
You know what? America might have won the space race, but the Soviet sent the first woman.
Yes, exactly. So who's the real winner here?
Who
is the real? Yeah, and she remains actually the only woman to have flown a solo space mission, which I was very surprised by. I feel like there should be more. I'm sure we will see more. But what I found really cool is she later became a politician and an engineer. So she continued in this path of public service after retiring from space. So this idea of serving young women and breaking down barriers through different ways in her life. And I really, really love this quote I found from her. A bird cannot fly with one wing only. Human spaceflight cannot develop any further without active participation of women.
Oh, I think that sums up our whole episode.
Yeah, I feel I always struggle with explaining. It's difficult sometimes when we keep explaining over and over, you know, why gender equality matters and why equity matters. But I feel that first part of that quote just hit it nail on the head.
It's just so simple. She makes it sound so simple. Like, obviously, a bird cannot fly with one wing. Duh. You know? It's that easy to understand. And I think it's such a great metaphor that she's putting it in.
Absolutely. And our next woman is a woman with many wings in many professions.
Okay.
Her name is Mae Jemison. When I was reading about her, I was like, she is truly a Renaissance woman. I wrote a note to say that just because I think it's sums up her. She was a doctor, dancer, engineer, and most of all, a dreamer. Are we ready? Are we excited?
I'm like already like I need to take a moment to like all those titles in a row.
Not ready, but we're gonna start.
We're gonna start anyways. I think you guys are ready.
Yeah, be ready. She was born in Alabama and raised in Chicago. She studied at Stanford and she earned degrees in chemical engineering and in African and Afro-American studies. She later earned a medical degree at Cornell, becoming a physician. She worked as a medical doctor in the Peace Corps in Liberia and Sierra Leone, focusing on public health. And I was like, whoa, you've done everything. How do you have the time to live this many lives?
We're not even anywhere near space yet at this point.
Yeah, I was impressed.
We have
I need to know what her Google Calendar looks like. Must be blocked out like crazy. But then, in 1987, she got selected by NASA as one of 15 astronauts from over 2,000 applicants, and she became the first Black woman in space aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour.
I do not think that they could have found anyone else more qualified.
Yeah. I mean, they must have got her resume and read through the doctor and engineer and all these things and went, okay.
Like, you'll be fine in space.
For a higher position. Really, really cool. She actually conducted experiments in life sciences and material processing in microgravity during her mission. And she actually left NASA in 1993 because she wanted to pursue other interests in tech and education and social innovation. She's, this kind of entrepreneurial spirit as we've seen from her history. And she founded the Jemison Group, which focuses on integrating science, tech, and social change, which I find really cool as an activist that she's combining all of these different things, especially for young people and diversity in STEM.
I'm seeing a pattern here because, as you mentioned, Valentina also, when she left NASA, became a politician and started advocating for all of these different things. So I'm like, look at all these women go.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're so right. And I like that, like all of these women, they put an emphasis that these different professions are not separate, right? It's so interdisciplinary, so connected, and we need people who can create those connections across disciplines to be able to create change. And
absolutely.
I also put a note here, a little bit unrelated, but I thought it was cool that she appeared on Star Trek, making it the first real astronaut to ever appear on the show, by the way. And I'm a Star Wars fan, not a Star Trek fan, but I do have friends that are really into Star Trek, so I had to put it in there.
You know what? I'm sure someone out there appreciates that comment. I don't know anything about Star Trek, but someone out there definitely does. I just want to mention too, not a single one of these women started off their life being like, I'm gonna go to space. All of them have these incredible interdisciplinary backgrounds that made them so qualified for space research. And the fact that they didn't stop at NASA or space travel. They didn't just go, I went to space. I'm done now. That's my pinnacle in my life. They left and they continued doing better and better things to help society. And I'm like, wow. I think that's the coolest part of it all.
I agree with you, Maggie, and it just goes to show that you can never stop dreaming and you never know where your life will take you. And I think actually this last quote I have from Mae Jemison wraps that up really well. Exactly what you said. She said, never be limited by other people's limited imaginations.
We've had so many banger quotes in this podcast episode. That is incredible.
For real, these astronauts be like poets or something too. Like, wow, they can really do it all.
It's the interdisciplinary nature. They're poets too. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they were poets alongside being astronauts. But that's just such a bar, Like, a lot of these women did have limitations placed on them. We saw that with Katherine Johnson. We saw that with a lot of these women, that they definitely experienced a lot of limitations in their careers. But did that stop them? No. Because now we get a podcast episode about them. Because they didn't let the limitations stop them.
So to our listeners, don't let the limitations stop you. Keep imagining,
Mhm.
and hopefully the women we spoke about today help you keep doing that.
And if your
Thanks for
dream is to
listening.
go to space, we'll see you on the moon one day.